Hey, Desk, again, good to see y'all, and it's good to see the predictions obviously go in the favor of Houston Outlaws for Jake. Obviously, as a competitor, you know, specifically, I'm not biased, obviously, like Jake's not biased, of course. You know, the Houston Outlaws look amazing this year. They look so dang good at the current moment, Moxie. But, you know, the series is still yet to be played out. We can see some maybe potential of the Valiant kind of show itself today.
I mean, let me tell you, if Atlanta Reign have lit being the big bad evil of the end of a D&D campaign, Shu and Violet are the two just hitting nat 20s on every single skill check, because my goodness, like the desk said, this is a backline that just do not die, and they do not care about rotations. They will wait. They will hear the boss music. You will hear and see the arena just start to darken as all of the lights just drop down as that dive comes through, and you have to try and find the initial pick on Tashir. He is still going to be standing. He is going to be hitting those sleep darts, those nades, and Los Angeles Valiant, they have a tough task ahead of themselves, because if Curry wants to stick with this Ramatra, well, Ramatra players know the pain of the Ana sleep dart probably better than the Winston mains with how big that hitbox is.
For sure. And, you know, obviously with the likes of Shu being able to hit those shots, it's incredibly important. I like you mentioned the hitbox. I mean, that's why a lot of coaches will tell a lot of these Ana players that are maybe a bit newer to the role, like, not to spam that sleep dart. Really use that cooldown on those large targets that can get hit easily, because that'll give you a higher percentage to hit that sleep dart. Because, I mean, that ability, it's on a 14-second cooldown. Yeah. That is not exactly short.
I mean, I like this adaptation, though, coming through from Valiant. They're obviously very much aware of those larger hitboxes, and Quarry coming out on something like the Junker Queen, that when she released, a lot of people were saying that her hitbox was incredibly thin. For a tank, is definitely going to be harder for Shu to be able to land those sleep darts onto.
Okay, let's see if it works out for the Valiant. Obviously running Nos here onto that Torbjorn too, so they can play maybe back of the map as well with that shout, kind of play more counter dive comp until they get that Junker Queen Rampage. They rotate all the way around towards the car side. This is actually, I like this spot for the Valiant, because this Torb turret does find a lot of value. The anti-grenade did connect on the Valiant, but really no dive yet for the side of the Outlaws. They want to make sure that turret is gone. In fact, both teams have changed locations. We have over here the Valiant at the main of the Houston Outlaws, and Outlaws at the main of the Valiant. So at the same time, Fearless goes for that dive onto Nos, who does have to use his E earlier up in that fight, and Outlaws actually are setting up the dive the entire time. Shu waiting for that nano boost to go off, but in fact, they're just building that ult charger, building the nano. They don't go for that dive just yet. Valiant just slowly rotating around this point, kind of begging the Outlaws to go for that dive first or finding this pick. So the longer this fight goes on, I think it's favoring the Outlaws until the anti-nade does get hit. Shu very close to that nano. He's already 90% building it. He's waiting for it. The Valiant do have that point first under the control. They go back to recontest this point to actually make sure it does not flip for the Outlaws as Fearless trying to jump in. He gets the nano. They connect onto Nos, also onto Crawley, and eventually the Outlaws do flip that point and find the first team fight win.
Yeah, Outlaws playing that patient game, like you said. Valiant do pick up that first initial point, but Outlaws don't take the bait of going for that dive, because the second that Fearless is removed from Shu's side, Quarry's just going to go for the shout, Light is going to speed, and everyone from Los Angeles Valiant are immediately just going to push onto the backline of Shu and Violet, who only has one sleep dart. He's not going to be able to sleep every single member on Valiant's side, so good patience coming through from Outlaws, and it nets them an EMP into this next fight as well to try to keep up with Laya when he comes in with the sound barrier.
Just added a new mythical Overwatch player, 5 sleep dart Shu, happy over the top with an EMP, looks for that Kitsune rush, connects onto 3 members of the Valiant, and in fact CJ falls first. Crowley does come back and then in fact trade that out, but Happy does trade on Nos. The pulse bomb trying to get connected there from Seeker, but it was immediately deflected by Violet in that shield, and now Crowley gets pressured out by Fearless already halfway through. Houston Outlaws move up to 50% of the board.
Yeah, good counter EMP to come through on that rush from Valiant, knowing that everyone from Valiant are going to try and brawl up on that rush. They're going to try and get aggressively into Outlaw's face, so they're going to land right into the EMP as Happy is just waiting for these members. Does get spotted out, has to use the translocate early, but it's still denying time for Valiant and allowing Outlaws to build even more percentage.
70% of the board, so the Valiant are going to need to win this fight right here. Now the Jagged Blade does connect onto Happy, but he doesn't actually pull it back, so Happy falls back out. There we go, a nice Jagged Blade on the Shu. They still have the Rampage. Sleep Dart's out, so he can go for the Rampage after he wakes up, and in fact, he does so into that back line. Great re-engage by the Valiant to force out those cooldowns from Shu. Fearless does trade back to Nos, though, so the Outlaws still want to delay this point, but eventually they'll cap it out. No, in fact, the Outlaws just touch a little bit, get more percentage on the board, up to 92 as the Valiant switch it.
Valiant have a really hard fight ahead of them, though. They're coming in against a Nano Boost, a Primal, a soon-to-be built-up EMP, and a Pulse Bomb. CJ will be able to Suzu one of those, but Shu with that Nano Boost can immediately push Fearless into Valiant's side, and if Liar throws in that Sound Barrier to deal with the Nano Impact, you're not going to have a BMP.
Very early Nano. Pelican also connects with the Pulse Bomb. Liar just had no chance to live in that situation. Fearless with the Nano. Then pops the Primal Rage just to sustain them on this point to find those follow-up kills. Liar's V-Drop could not be used in that fight, in that situation, and unfortunately for him, he's not even going to use it at all. It looks like they do touch it, though. Nos does touch the point, force the translocate back, but can anybody else here touch? It looks like eventually Nos does touch, but he does lose his life for it. Eventually, Seeker might go to touch. He goes for the Pulse Bomb first. Nobody else can touch, though. Violet flails him off, and the beat drop gets no value.
Violet with 2 denials. The first, the shield bash onto the Sombra, and the second, the flail connecting onto the Lucio. So no overtime contest to come through from Valiant's side. I like the adaptation to come through. I like that we're seeing the Junker Queen as Valiant understand that the dive, this composition, is at its most vulnerable when Outlaws are playing aggressive and Shu and Violet don't have the 2 avenues of peel. The problem is Outlaws have very quickly identified Los Angeles Valiant's game plan. There's only so many ways that you have a Junker Queen initiating into a fight, and all of it comes off of that speed boost.
Yeah, that's a very good point because, you know, previously a lot of teams will mention how that character, Junker Queen, you know, Ramattra, both a little bit telegraphed at times. The Houston Outlaws opting to put Violet on the Brigitte yet again, so very similar composition on the previous one, except they have Pelican on the Echo.
Nos should have a better time dealing with this Echo with that Tourbillon turret when you're in control of the fight. The second you lose it, that Tourbillon turret is going to be out of every single engagement just with the Echo coming with those stickies. And there it is. Turret's gone.
It's already out of the fight. Nos gonna have to wait for that cooldown to come back online. These anti-grenades come through. Outlaws kind of just playing it slow. They keep building up towards this Nano. Instead, in this fight, it might change. The game plan might change with Pelican playing aggressive. The point has now unlocked. The turret's still pressuring out Pelican, so he has to deal with that first. Turret gone. Anti-grenade connects onto Crawley, Nos, and Seeker, forcing him to fall all the way back. Liar's not even with his team. Dropped down for some reason. Pelican trades him back, and now the Valiant are in prime position to get dove on by the Outlaws. Crawley does trade back Violet, and also Shu. 1 and 2 Jagged Blades. Maybe turn this fight for the Valiant. Crawley doing a great job on this Junker Queen. They shout back into this fight. Outlaws do have this point, but eventually Nos finds Fearless, and they reclaim it. So nice job by the Valiant.
CJ's going to have that Kitsune rush as well. Outlaw's going to have to wait for things like that Nano Boost as well as the EMP to come through. This is the saving grace for Outlaws. Liar is not going to have the Sound Barrier. He was so far removed from his team in the last fight, he hasn't been able to get the healing necessary to build it up.
Now he's reliant on CJ to get this Kitsune rush. Shu's building towards that Nano Boost. Pelican also with the copy. There's that Kitsune rush early. I like this from the Valiant. Making an aggressive play before the Outlaws have built any ultimates, and it works. Violet goes down without that speed boost. Liar chases him down with the rest of the Valiant. Outlaws do go for that fast reset, though, and opt not to give up any ult charge.
But this is brilliant news for Valiant. They've now been given time to try to build towards the Sound Barrier to deal with the EMP. If Seeker is able to infiltrate and drop a Pulse Bomb, forcing Outlaws to wait even more time, they'll have the Sound Barrier to duel out the Sombra.
You're in a rough spot, though, right? At the same time, you're just relying on Seeker to get that pulse, and he does get it, though. Okay, nice job. You called that from Seeker, and he absolutely capitalizes. Violet's already out of the fight. The Nibus came out into Fearless. They rotate towards this point. Valiant just rotated through the main side, so the DPSs of the Outlaws couldn't get much value until now. Pelican finds Crawley, and then also Shu connects onto Nos on that backside. The Valiant eventually will get wiped here, but not after a Primal Raids and Nano were used for the Outlaws.
And Liar's going to have the Sound Barrier. Seeker did his job. He delayed Outlaws so that he's got it to counter the EMP. The problem for Valiant is that when they went for the kill off of that Pulse Bomb aggression, everyone had to commit. This is a composition that plays in a cluster as opposed to leaving people behind to keep that point locked down. So the longer this fight goes, the better percentage Outlaws have.
Yep, the win condition for Valiant is making sure Happy doesn't get a big EMP in this fight. As long as they play it split, or if they had Teru from the Washington Justice just poke out the Sombra in their favor, but everybody gets hit by this EMP, and they just didn't do the progressions. They didn't go Happy fast enough. Crawley does find him, but the Outlaws, just off of an EMP, win that fight.
Fast fight, though. That's brilliant news for Valiant. Yes, they lose it. Liar gets hit by the EMP alongside everybody else who doesn't have the option to Sound Barrier, but it's not a staggered out fight. Outlaws don't play with their food. They're not able to burn out more point percentage, and as a result, Valiant are going to have so many ultimates to move into this next fight with, especially if Crowley is able to come in with a Rampage, because they don't have the Kiriko this time to cleanse the ante.
You go through the main. Violet does have the rally this fight. Pelican also the copy. Outlaws just waiting for this touchdown from Crawley, which he does. But also they dive deep onto Happy, who's on Hanzo now. Great dive from Crawley. They understood the wing condition. Now the Rampage comes out onto the high ground. Connects actually onto Shu, Violet, and Pelican. But Pelican does get onto Seeker. He does also copy the Torbjorn here, but at the same time, Nos did drop his Molten Core onto Pelican's turret and on the inside as well. The Kitsune rushes here from CJ. The point eventually is picking in their favor, but now Pelican gets the copied ultimate of the Torbjorn, drops that Molten Core onto the point that Lucio also surely to go down from wire unless his movement is insane, but very hard to avoid that damage. Also, Happy's back onto the Pharah, connects onto Nos, and the Outlaws eventually come back onto this point, though. Crawley, CJ, and Seeker are still in this fight. Seeker's found 2, Pelican also, so it's a 1 versus 2 for Seeker against the Winston and a Pharah. Unfortunately for Seeker, it's too much of a distance to cover, and the Outlaws will get this first map victory.
It looks like such a good Rampage too. The problem for Valiant is that it takes so long to be able to set up. They have to walk up the stairs. They have to then wait out the initial break bash coming through from Violet when the rally activates, so you don't get stunned out of throwing the Rampage. Good bait, however, from Kari to make it look like he's throwing the Rampage, pulls out that shield bash, and then come in with the ultimate, which does hit onto 4 members of Houston. The problem is Pelican on the Echo gets the duplicate off, and suddenly he can just drop from the high ground to the low ground, fully buffed up to the health, and continue to apply pressure onto the backside of Valiant so they can't play off of the anti-nade space that should have been created.
And for the Valiant, Moxie, it seems like at times they had things together. They go for those dives, but I think you called it out earlier. Their Junker Queen at times was just a bit too telegraphed.
Very telegraphed, and as a result, Shu knew exactly when to throw the anti-nades, right? We were talking at the beginning of this series about how crucial it is for the Ana to not throw those utilities out because of how long the cooldowns are on, so that when you want to throw them, they have to be vital, they have to be important. Connecting an anti-nade onto this sort of composition with the Junker Queen and the Lucio means that you have to wait for the anti-nade effect to be out. If you Suzu it too early, that is the immediate go sign to jump on the Kiriko.
Well, the Outlaws going next to Blizzard World versus the Los Angeles Valiant. That'll be our map number 2, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a short break.
Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade up. Damn, then you gon' pay up. Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade up. Damn, then you gon' pay up.
Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade up. Damn, then you gon' pay up. Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Turn it way up, turn it way up.
Crank that volume, turn it way up, way up.
If the Atlanta Reign are the big bad, the Houston Outlaws are the heroes of this campaign. Next map will be going to his Blizzard World, which is a bit of a meta outlook of this series and of, you know, the Overwatch League as its whole. If Atlanta Reign are the big bad bosses, Moxie, and Houston Outlaws are the heroes, what would be the San Francisco Shock then?
Probably the DM, because like every single time Shocker their back's up against the wall, they just go, okay, Rocks full, proper kills everybody. And that's how they win their games.
I hope that the LA Valiant aren't NPCs in the situation. They seem to be.
No,
like...
they're not. They're definitely not. Like, I love the adaptations that they had coming in. Like, obviously, coming into this match, they're concerned about the Ramattra. We were concerned by the potential of that Ramattra. Ramattra, just when he goes into that Nemesis form, he's so vulnerable for things like the Ana Sleep Dart, to be able to hit onto him, as well as the Anti-Nade and like Houston Outlaws. This is a composition that punishes things like those really easy to hit sleep darts, because she just even hitting onto things like Sombra and the Tracer makes it look absolutely effortless.
Yeah, I think he is one of the best Anas, and Violet doing a great job just filling in for that main support role. I don't think a lot of people talk about that, Moxie, how difficult it is to make that switch from flex support to main support. I mean, a lot of people did it pre-Overwatch League coming into the main support role, but I would say none to the degree that Violet has.
Yeah, I think Houston Outlaws are onto an absolute stunner of a backline. Having that flexibility, like we said, whenever we talk to players at the moment in either Tier 1 or Tier 2, and we ask support players, what is the difference between having such a flexible backline? They call it the golden ticket. And for Houston Outlaws, it has definitely brought them inside that chocolate factory more than once, as Los Angeles Valiant are going to be on the defense. They're going to be running Crowy on that Diva, as Shu on the Life Weaver just gives Happy a platform to potentially find a pick onto this opening high ground before swapping off.
Wait, that's cool. I like that. That's cool. He also gets back to spawn faster, too, after doing that. We talked about that yesterday. I mean, now we get to see it in fruition. The Life Weaver pedal to get whittle that one-shot potential.
Are we going to call that the Dustin?
No, please. No, I did not coin that, obviously. Now the Outlaw. We'll call it the Outlaws. We'll call it the Happy Shoe. That does not make sense at all. But the Outlaws, you know, they have Genji now for Pelican. It's taken them some time to figure out the composition to run. Happy over the top does have the hack. They're actually pinging out the Sombra, so the hack could come through on the Seeker right now, but no, he translocates back, avoids the fight for now as the Houston Outlaws just try to rotate around Fearless's anti-grenades. So they're going to wait for that to go off, wait for that dive to come through. The hacks keep coming onto these DPS of the Houston Outlaws, so it's slowing them down, but now Fearless goes for the dive. Crawley already very close to losing mech, has that pocket, and Lyre actually picks Pelican off with an anti-grenade, so great job disengaging for the Los Angeles Valiant, not dying to that dive. Now going to come back into this fight strongly, 4 versus 5. Nos is looking for that Sombra, who has to back up, and the Outlaws slowly getting staggered, but they're waiting for their player to get back from spawn. Fearless gets poked down by Seeker, and the Los Angeles Valiant are playing this, you know, yin and yang so well at the moment. Nos, fantastic pulse bomb as well.
I mean, Seeker on that Sombra is impressing so much. The difference coming through from the hacks, like when Phyllis has already created that space and it's Pelican who's the danger, the threat to come through with that Genji dash and finish off these kills. It's the Genji who gets hacked. It's the Genji who gets denied. But then when the dive isn't yet to come through and Phyllis still needs to make the space, it's the Winston that gets hacked. So Los Angeles Valiant doing a very good job of identifying certain threats at different times.
Fearless just taking that damage for Shu to get that mana boost, but they have so many ultimates here. Like you mentioned, Seeker on the Sombra being a nuisance. They do poke him out, though. Great job from the Outlaws to pressure him out. Now Fearless goes in with the dive, knowing that Seeker still has to get set up for this EMP, but now that EMP lands for Seeker onto the front line and backline. The DPS is in support, so the rally now comes through from Violet to come back into this fight as that Kitsune rush from CJ sustains this point for a bit longer. You know, Seeker just trying to get some heals on the coast. They're waiting for the Nenebu stock. Now they go for it. Lyre has to hit the sleep dart, and he does onto Fearless, who has that Primal Rage, allowing Croy to come back with this Nano. Find Violet. Also, Shu uses the sleep dart. The defensive matrix is there. Happy finds Lyre. That's only one, so the Los Angeles Valiant are in a great spot unless Fearless can get something more with this Primal Rage. Does CJ get booped off the map? He swift step perfectly back towards this team and also is hiding from Fearless, but eventually Fearless does find him. This point already one tick for the Houston Outlaws, but Croy keeps training it back. I mean, Croy, how many kills has this guy gotten on the Diva? Just time after time again on the Diva, making these adjustments, coming back into the point in last second to make sure the Outlaws can't touch. They do have a blade. Does Pelican opt to use it in this situation? They have 3 members here, but they're down their tank. Pelican just trying to play his life, knowing with this double heals, he can play as aggressive as he wants to. Happy, both Sombra just catch each other in the in the passing lane. Happy has to fall back. Had the EMP. Pelican still has that blade. In fact, wants to go with it. Liar goes incredibly low. D.Va Bomb to peel. Pelican has to dash back. Crawley with a perfectly placed D.Va Bomb. Also kind of connects onto Pelican, but mainly Fearless is out of the fight. They just have Happy with the EMP. Los Angeles Valiant get 4-man EMP, and that is enough for Pelican to get those dash resets. Houston Outlaws took them a bit. 30 seconds left on the clock, but they'll capture that first point.
Oh, Pelican's so happy that he gets to play Genji. The biggest smile on his face as Houston Outlaws are able to unlock that point. It looked a little bit dicey, like you said. These adaptations coming through from the Valiant, really understanding the composition that Outlaws are putting onto the table. Unfortunately, they're understanding this next fight too. Shu is going to have a nano boost, Phyllis is going to have a jump, and it all comes down to whether or not they can retain this high ground hold when that dive is committed, as Liar has to continue to just put that pressure onto Fearless, trying to force things like the break pack out early before the dive can properly engage. So those ultimates, those resources are denied from when Pelican or Happy tries to assist.
Yeah, but Seeker actually gets pressured out, immediately countered by the Outlaws, so they pick him off early. And although the Valiant have been looking good, especially with Crawley on this D.Va swap, that pick there surely is going to result in some cart space lost.
Yeah, especially because Valiant, they're playing CJ on this Kiriko. They don't have the Brigitte to be able to either flail or bash the Winston when the nano boost comes through. Those Outlaws are yet to actually fully commit onto this high ground. It is just Crowy keeping that hold up. But now that you've moved past the D.Va, you got to move on to backline.
This backline of the Valiant just avoiding Fearless's dives perfectly. Nos almost dies on the front, eventually does the Pelican, who gets that dash reset and then goes immediately into CJ. So 2K for him. Liar does hit the sleep, but not without Crawley gone already. 3K for Pelican in that fight, and pretty clean second phase, although first was rough. Houston Outlaws now have 3 minutes in third point.
Seeker's going to be able to come in with an EMP to potentially try and shut down Pelican's blade, as the nano boost has been going on to Fearless, not the Genji, but Valiant not running something like a Zenyatta or a Lucio means that you don't need the nano for that blade to come in with the kills. You don't have to chunk through the extra shielding, as now we're going to see the swap onto the Zenyatta. This is a glass cannon. If you can land the discords, if you can land the volleys, you're going to be able to recover. If you can't build up to a Transcendence or keep your Zenyatta alive, Yolana is going to struggle to be able to keep the sustainability for the team.
How is Pelican getting these kills so fast? I mean, it's so amazing to just watch Pelican back on the Genji, obviously on the Rain plated quite a bit. And, you know, with Genji kind of being out of, well, not out of meta, but just consistently in flux of if it's meta or not, means he had to change a lot. Incoming EMP from Seeker, however, connects onto Shu, Fearless, and Violet. So that's a great EMP from Seeker. Should shut out this fight for now. But Pelican just continually playing as aggressive as he has been, just wants to hold as many aggressive angles as he can to set up those dashes.
Yeah, he's chased off of that angle, though, by the Discord Orb connecting onto the Genji, and Valiant should be able to find a foothold. EMP to connect onto both these supports so Pelican can find that blade space.
I mean, I don't mind this so far for the Valiant with that Discord. Obviously happy with the EMP just waiting. He's just been sitting in the backline the entire time waiting for that EMP to come through. But with how these backlines of Liar and CJ have been playing, I mean, they know exactly how to deal with it. They're playing split at the moment. Only connect onto Liar, so CJ should be able to come help Liar. Also with the nade comes through. D.Va Bomb to peel again. I mean, we don't see that. It's kind of uncommon. Crawley to toss that D.Va Bomb back. Shu does connect onto Liar on the front line. Happy does hack the health pack here, so nobody on the Valiant can then use that health pack as Seeker gets pressured off. That's only one member down. You still have Liar coming back from the spawn, but Moxie, look at this. Shu has that Nano Blade ready to go with Pelican. We could see a fantastic Nano Blade play happen until Seeker comes through, spoils everything, and hacks him immediately. Seeker and Crawley come through with the follow-up, and Pelican, realizing his backline is gone, just gonna have to reset.
Yeah, Outlaws were posturing up for the Nano Blade, and that hack coming through from Seeker denies its existence and allows CJ to build up the ultimate. Transcendence is going to be on the table, and this adds an extra flavor for Outlaws to have to deal with before the Blade Wombo combo comes through.
So far from the Valiant, and we'll see if CJ can actually use that Transcendence perfectly against Pelican's Blade, or if they try to force it early, maybe with a Fearless dive. With that Primal Rage, they're playing it slow, then comes Fearless with the dive, but he gets left dark, so that sleep is gone. After that, Liar gets taken out by Pelican, so although they had the Transcendence, they could not save Seeker and Liar from the damage output that was that Genji Blade and the Primal Rage. Happy and Fearless combine as well for Nos and CJ, and the delay comes through, but they're going to cap out with time, which means that if the Los Angeles Valiant cap out, they can actually, you know, come back in the series and have a chance on their attack, but not capping out with over a minute is not exactly ideal for the Houston Outlaws.
Yeah, a good turnaround from Valiant, swapping over to that Zenyatta on point C, where it's harder for the dives to properly be committed at the early stages of those fights. So you have less avenues for that Sombra to be able to find the Zen early and hack him down. However, Outlaw's able to wait for that Nano Blade, and it's Fearless actually who comes in with the gorgeous Primal. You don't need to bait the Transcendence early if your Winston player just gets to juggle the Zenyatta out of line of sight of the rest of his players.
Look at that replay. I mean, if we have it in this situation, I would love to see it because the Houston Outlaws as a whole looked incredibly good. I might have called for that incorrectly. Here we go. We can actually see the replay from Pelican. The dive came through early from Fearless with the nano boost and just one dash. Immediately right-click CJ right after. That's the high-sensitivity players. That is Pelican on the Genji. So we get to see that nano, they called it a nano jax. Is that fair? Poor Ajax, man.
I mean, it did connect onto Crowy.
That's like
it
the worst
just
case.
immediately got burnt down because, unfortunately, you timed it at the exact time as the D.Va mech got stripped off.
That's so sad, man. That should revitalize. You should get mech back. They should become two players on the server. You got a Nano D.Va mech and then Baby D.Va. That becomes...
Well, it's like defibrillators, right?
Yeah.
Where you just shout charge and immediately all of the electricity just sparks straight back online and you get that mech immediately.
Yeah, I think that might just be called a Mercy Res, actually. Here's that pedal platform again. We get to see it twice in a row. Valiant looking for that snipe, but eventually, Moxie, they go back to this D.Va comp, which was, you know, had some success on the defense.
Yeah, they're going to have so many moving pieces as well to be able to not just contest that point, but contest this backline, keeping Shu and Violet on their toes.
That's a very important job that Seeker needs to continue to keep up, or keep doing rather, onto the Houston Outlaws. Ready, setting up. But he is poked out continuously by the Houston Outlaws. Fearless is slept on that front line, but it's really not in a dangerous position. Knowing that Sleep Dart cooldown is out should give them a potential early dive. It looks like Outlaws are setting themselves up for that potential. They're kind of putting themselves in like a two-option play where they either want to go aggressive or fall all the way back, especially since Violet can always swift step, try to swift step to the Winston, but Fearless kind of gets caught out. The Suzu used early and a nade to keep him nice and healthy. The Valiant, knowing that cooldown is out, can push forward until that Sleep Dart connects for Shu, so Crawley slowed down. Fearless goes for that dive onto Liar, but that backline has been continuously peeling through each other so well. Fearless is the one to go down, and again, the Valiant with these counter dives, whenever they're set up for it without any ultimates, the neutral games, they are winning. CJ wants, in fact, that duel with Happy, who's forced the translocate back, who has built that EMP. Liar has built a nano. They could continue this pressure. However, they don't even have a tick, and the EMP comes out onto everybody of the Valiant. In fact, the nano boost was used, but I think it was canceled by the EMP, so Liar's nano kind of wasted in the situation. Crawley tries to equalize it to go forward to maybe give them a tick, but they cannot find it. And the Houston Outlaws, a phenomenal EMP Happy, got off, reclaimed the point.
It's not just the EMP, it's also when Fearless is out of the fight, Happy comes through with another hack counteracting Crowy on that engagement. As now we get to see, here it is. Wyatt with that nano tries to send it, and it is indeed cancelled out by Happy's activation. Was going to put it onto Noz so that Tracer could just continue to pressure Shu and Violet on the back line, but it is not to be. And Valiant now will have to come into the Kitsune rush, but Atlas can just hold their ground. They've got a rush to be able to counteract.
I feel so bad for Liar because despite those nano boosts, he's been playing great so far on Ana. Now the Los Angeles Valiant have those ultimate nano boosts, comes out onto Fearless. Seeker also gets pressure out immediately, does not have a translocator, has the peel there, but it's just too much damage to deal with. The nano Winston, the Tracer, and the Sombra all shooting him, and Shu on the Ana pressuring him at the same time. Los Angeles Valiant now have to reset slowly. They could potentially get staggered here, however. You know, they're continuously going forward. Outlaws don't want to go inside. This is too strong of a defensive angle for the Valiant to have a foothold.
Outlaws at least don't have that nano boost anymore. Liar's coming up to one of his own, but you can't really get the same damage from a D.Va nano as you do a Winston, since you don't get the cleave option, as it is going to be dive for dive. CJ gets hacked, but the Kitsune rush has still been able to come through to contest Violets.
Yeah, Fearless coming in with the Primal Wage to disrupt that Kitsune rush. Pulse bomb into Crawley, but now we can use the D.Va bomb. Great job to just use that. Now can remech safely inside unless a hack came through for Happy, but Happy so close towards that EMP. But he is EMP'd by Seeker, who had it earlier. Liar also still has that nano, like you mentioned, so they can continue this fight if Happy tries to drop that EMP. This time, Liar opts to use it early so he doesn't get caught out. He does eventually fall to Fearless, but he got the nano off before he died, so he kind of did his job. Crawley trying to find some value on the point, but he just existing here kind of gives Valiant the space to reclaim this point and pick off Pelican with Seeker. They already got 2 ticks. The Houston Outlaws want to recontest. It looks like they do potentially want to look to potentially force ultimates, but the Valiant have none, so the Houston Outlaws just want to build some ultimates in the situation. Back on out of there, have Violet with the swift step, and just continue to build those ultimates.
They can try and hound down for staggers if they really want to, though, as Valiant has already used that Swiss Step. But you can see that Valiant just don't want to lose these players, not more than happy to just wait for Outlaws to put themselves out of position in these really aggressive motions coming through from this defensive team, trying to control all of these side avenues of that choke, as well as keep those health packs hacked out so that it significantly impacts the amount of room that NOS and Seeker have to stay away from their supports.
Dive ready to go. Shu with the Nano Boost ready to go on Fearless. He's actually kind of poked out. Shu has to use the nade to keep him healthy in this situation. Maybe was a little worried that Fearless would lose his life. The Nano now comes out into Fearless. They can go for that dive onto Liar. It's perfectly placed after the pings came through from his team, and Fearless 2K onto CJ and Liar. That's going to be a fast reset for the Los Angeles Valiant.
Yeah, Outlaws being able to control all the side avenues also forced Valiant to stick towards the main road and allowed Outlaws to just quietly build up that nano boost from all of the poke pressure that Fearless is taking. And then because Valiant don't have the side avenues, when the dive comes through, it fully connects onto every single member. As Valiant at least will have ultimates to try and break into this next fight, but they have to be careful that Outlaws don't get to take that immediate initiation. Happy has the EMP, and Outlaws can just wait for Valiant to try to move through this choke to use it.
I would like the Valiant to play a little bit more proactive here, potentially set up a dive onto somebody so the Outlaws aren't so free, especially with that backline of Shu and Violet. Whenever they're able to do as much as they have been, it enables Pelican to find these pulse bombs. But in these type of situations, Valiant have come back. The Suzu comes out from CJ. The hack also from Happy here onto CJ. But he does have that Swiss Step to go back after the Suzu was used. He surely should fall here, but no. The heals and peel there is on to CJ, who still have that Kitsune Rush. They don't want to use any ultimates because they know Happy has that EP. Now the Nano Boost comes out to CJ. They peel off Fearless, who was incredibly low, but comes back into his team. The Kitsune Rush is here to keep him healthy. The Valiant also commit their own Kitsune Rush to fight at this choke. Happy trying to pressure this backline, and Shu also is there to connect onto Liar, but Crawley does trade back Fearless after getting slept. Now Shu's in a rough spot, does have that peel of Violet so they can live, but now comes that D.Va Bomb, forcing Shu to hide behind the pillar. He's in a rough spot, but at the same time, the EMP from Happy comes through. He does eventually die, but Crawley and NOS are there to capitalize. Although Pelican, you know, whenever he's in these fights on Tracer, you can't count out the Outlaws just yet. Crawley will also lose the mech, drop the pulse bomb to zone off this help for Crawley, and that's a great fight for the Houston Outlaws, but there's still one more available for the Valiant.
The problem for Valiant is that they only have one ultimate to be able to win it, and Outlaws are going to immediately just pull back so that NOS isn't in distance of being able to drop this pulse bomb onto one of those key support members. Houston Outlaws playing towards the high ground, waiting. Shu so close to the nano boost, throws the sleep dart. It's going to be defense matrix by Curry, but it still limits the aggression that Valiant have to push onto this high ground with.
Crawley comes through, touches that payload. Nano available in just a second for Shu. NOS does have that pulse bomb, but he's just playing the low ground, pressuring out Fearless. Goes for that pulse onto the shield, and actually sort of hits Fearless on the outside of the shield, so it causes that Nano Boost to be used onto Fearless early for that damage reduction. Happy also set up in the backline. I mean, they're just getting collapsed on at the moment. Liar goes down to Fearless, overtime thinking down. Fearless will also have that Nano, or that Primal Rage in a moment. Crawley falls, Seeker does as well, and the Houston Outlaws will go up 2-0 over the Los Angeles Valiant.
Yeah, Valiant just don't get the space to play as proactively as we would want to, and I'm sure they wanted to as well. Outlaws doing a very good job of just pushing Valiant into taking. They're walking into Fearless, they're walking into the Winston Cleave that connects onto every single member in that room and allows things like the Primal to have so much more impact.
I think overall, you know, it felt like to me, Moxie, I'm sure you can also see it from your perspective, it feels like the Outlaws just had an easier time, right? The Valiant kind of wanted to sustain for a bit, but
Sirens, because they don't have those angles to send NOS and Seeker undetected to push Fearless into using things like the Winston jump early to be able to keep either his backline peeled for or that payload in limbo. The only time that we actually see them really be able to break through the choke is when one of them goes for that sneaky C9 play, the same sort of style that we saw coming through from them against Titans on Junkertown, when Fearless, mid-Primal Rage, suddenly realizes, hold on a minute, the payload's uncontested, and has to jump back.
Yeah, it's just it's so funny watching Fearless, and the fact that Los Angeles Valiant yesterday got those C9s, and the next map would be going to a Savannah. You know, the Valiant, they get to put Seeker potentially onto a sniper, so we could see them win the next map. Maybe that's some copium. I don't know. I'm just trying to help out our boys in chat that are Los Angeles Valiant fans. We'll go into a short break. When we come back, we'll see you on Havana.
get your blade out. Damage, then you gon' pay up.
Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade out. Damage, then you gon' pay up. Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Turn it way up. Turn it way up.
Crank that volume, turn it way up. Way up.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Overwatch League. We have Pelicans, obviously amazing stats, and I'm sure you guys all watching are having a fantastic Saturday or weekend in its entirety, because this guy is a treat to watch on the Genji, Moxie.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there's actually a lyric in the Outlaws hype video, which is "Get your blade out," and Pelican was definitely getting his in that Genji plays on Blizzard World. Like, absolutely insane. The fact that he died once as well. Absolutely amazing plays coming through from him, even when he's about to be hit by EMP with that blade, sacrificing blade uptime so that he survives. However, we do have a couple of subs coming through as we head towards Havana. No surprises, Gargoyle is going to be coming in for Fearless, because Outlaws are going to want to field towards something like the Sigma to be able to cut off what you called before the break, potential sniper play from Seeker coming through from the Valiant side.
I'm gonna steal a joke, Moxie, from the classic, Avast, one of the community members in the scene, obviously a former caster and former pro player. He mentioned, Coach Paintbrush has opted to put player Paintbrush, and he reached out to GM Paintbrush to decide that Paintbrush is gonna play today. Player Paintbrush, though, let's see if he will pop off. Coach Paintbrush is watching that, gameplay today. Moxie, no, you don't like that one? You don't like that one? It's true. It's just funny. It's just funny is all.
If I was like sitting on a spinning chair, it would be facing away from the camera. In fact, it would have rolled off screen right now, Dustin.
Well, that's why I'll throw that one on Avast. It's his fault. But for the Los Angeles Valiant, obviously with the Brigitte, that could be a pick. Maybe that's why they want Paintbrush in, like you mentioned in an off broadcast.
I mean, I can imagine Paintbrush coming through from the Brigitte is not just going to be to stop things like the counter break coming through from Violet, but also to stop Pelican, because when Outlaws are able to play the Genji to that potential on Blizzard World, you pull it out on Havana immediately.
Seeker on Widow. We've seen him play those hit scans to a very high level. I mean, that's a reason why the Los Angeles Valiant have been in a lot of these games previously. As the neutral game, it's just going to be a lot of Widows looking for shots until that cart reaches the next corner. You can see the wrist of Violet. Violet's like, oh wait, my wrist is peeking. Repeat down below. That's funny.
The wrist and the ankle coming through from the Brigitte, as he was just trying to shield that angle in case Seeker was looking for that opening pick. The Widow are going to be significantly less mobile than the Hanzo, however, so if Seeker's position is found out, Pelican's going to be able to close up the distance easily.
Yeah, Gargoyle just, by the way, was subbed in too. I forgot to mention that. On the Houston Outlaws side, can play very aggressive on this corner. You usually see on this left angle, this Genji and Brigitte kind of facing each other. In fact, Paintbrush and Los Angeles Valiant go first. Usually you don't see that, and that's exactly why. Paintbrush gets picked. If you go too aggressive out that angle, I mean, you just get picked off so damn fast by the defensive team.
Yeah, but Valiant have to. They don't have the Hanzo. They don't have the shield break that's available for Outlaws, so they're having to take those side corners, which does put themselves into a worse position when they're actually able to come in towards that main room, but allows them to at least survive the initial rotation, as opposed to Cryo Shield just immediately breaking on impact of Happy Storm arrows and everyone behind getting one tap by the Hanzo himself.
Hitting 30 off the clock, and that poke pressure, like you mentioned, being a big deal at the moment, though. That window popped early from CJ. Happy, though, even though they have the first ultimate, aren't able to get the first kill. Happy finds that kill with the Hanzo shot onto Nos on the backside, and now, Seeker is also on the Hanzo, trying to duel Happy on that high ground, but Pelican, ready for that dive. However, the distance is just too much to cover. Paintbrush, however, in this front line might be incoming. Gravitic Flux from Gargoyle connected on a Craw, forcing that lamp out. The Immortality field. Seeker, though, does trade back Violet, and now Pelican's forced to drop that blade. Connects onto the front line, then can dive through, actually onto Seeker. Gets the kill with 15 HP. That was such a dicey situation. Also hides back towards Valiant spawn. A little bit of prop hunt action happening here as that Hanzo ultimate is committed. Dragon Strike from Happy to try to zone, maybe give Pelican that fallback to get some heals, and they do, but because they're so focused on supporting Pelican, they get caught in a Gravitic Flux. That rally is committed, and same with the Immortality field. So the Los Angeles Valiant, they should have some ultimates here to work with. They do have to go against this Baptiste ultimate, though, for Shu as we enter that neutral fight yet again.
I mean, they're still stuck around the corner until Violet's rally abates. It has now, so Valiant can finally push forward, as Seeker's going to have the Dragon Strike to throw into Shu's Ant Matrix to allow CJ to have all of the control in this fight. But it's not yet built up. Outlaws push in with the Ant Matrix aggressively, and Seeker has to hold on to the ultimate.
Yeah, it's a lot of cooldown and ultimate usage here that we're going to see back and forth until the first kill happens. No ultimates on the board, and except that Dragon Strike. It does zone Gargoyle, though, so maybe this could act for a kill potentially for the Los Angeles Valiant. CJ does capitalize off Shu, trying to help Gargoyle on the inside, so great work from CJ to make that rotation, and also Seeker to really pressuring his backline. The Blade was popped by Nos. That's one. 2K for Nos so far. I mean, he's got more Blade kills than Pelican does at the current moment.
Yeah, Valiant understanding that they just need to get that payload into the checkpoint. Otherwise, well, they're not seeing any more of Havana, at least on the attack. As Outlaws come into this next fight with the Graviton, they'll have Happy coming into that Dragon Strike as well. So if CJ throws out this Immortality Field, it's immediately going to be punished by even more pressure coming through from Outlaws. They at least don't have the high ground. However, as Valiant do have the opportunity to land a one-tap and push Outlaws back for a little bit longer.
Both of these Hanzos kind of negating each other's presence, just pressuring each other out, but they're both doing a great job avoiding those Hanzo shots. Rally used from Paintbrush. Gargoyle is aware of that, so he just backs on. They're waiting to use the Gravitic Flux once that rally falls out, but the Dragon Strike connects perfectly. Zones out Fry, and that's not what you want. The Immortality Field from CJ attempted to save him, but a bit of a miscommunication from the Los Angeles Valiant, resulting in now a reset.
Well, at least Gargoyle doesn't throw out the Sigma Flux. Outlaws know they've already won the fight. Valiant are in full disengagement mode, so it's better to hold on to the Graviton and bait out the Immortality Field yet again, so Pelican can come through onto these members of Valiant, who unfortunately are having to go around these side lanes. They can't just go through main, otherwise they open themselves up for the space to be that for the dash reset from Blade.
Nice shot from Happy to pick off Seeker, and that's what happens in these fights. I mean, there's just random pick-offs from the Hanzos. Now Cry then comes through the top, already throws that rock out, but without that Hanzo pressure from Seeker, they're going to be waiting for him to come back to spawn. Does Pelican want to get those stagger kills? He's deciding between going with his team on the front line, but there's the Immortality Field. He opts to go for this Hanzo. He's looking for him at least at the current moment, but in fact just looking for the Genji, noticing the Hanzos regrouped with his team on the low ground. Pelican taking some poke from the Amplification Matrix, so he jumps back up to the high ground, but no cart space is being taken. Meanwhile, CJ up into the air from the Gravitic Flux, and they delete the Immortality Field in time for that Gravitic Flux to find maximum value. Great work from the Houston Outlaws to find that, and now there's the minute and 30 seconds left for the Los Angeles Valiant in the Streets phase.
And Pelican gets all of those kills without expending the Blade. It's all off of shurikens and dash resets. This Genji is doing so much, and Valiant now are going to find it so hard to make it out from spawn alive.
Yeah, but they're playing it smart, you know, waiting, biding their time in this situation. Maybe they'll get poked up by Gargoyle. Gargoyle is literally using the cover of the spawn door. So Los Angeles Valiant, they're going to need to use some ultimates potentially here to pressure out the Outlaws at least, but they just opt to make that long rotation, and now this gives... excuse me, that Amplification Matrix, also the Gravitic Flux from Crawley is used, but it doesn't connect. Now Pelican drops the Blade. Immortality Field is there, but it's deleted immediately. And Pelican goes a bit too far. He's traded out by Nos, so that's a nice kill from him with that Dragon Strike. They should find a little bit more.
Yeah, aggression coming through from Pelican, good Dragon Strike coming through from Seeker to make sure the Outlaws aren't able to make sure that the Genji survives that Blade. And now it is going to be Valiant having to use these ultimates as they have 28 seconds left and no way really of being able to get back into a fight when they actually manage to move over towards payload. Nos coming in towards the Blade, Paintbrush towards the rally, but Seeker is the one who has to touch the payload and keep it in play. And Outlaws finally are pushed away from the spawn hold, but it has dented Valiant's time bank and ultimate economy significantly.
Moxie getting choked up as a Los Angeles Valiant fan right now. They have to come back into this point with that rally with the Blade. It could be huge, but they're against that Dragon Strike. Nos comes in with Dash just to touch the payload in case nobody else on his team can. There's that rally from the back line, but Seeker picks off Shu. Although they were split, he does find that kill. Incoming Gravitic Flux forces the Los Angeles Valiant into the air, but this time the Immortality Field has enough health to keep them healthy. At the same time, Gargoyle has used the rock to pressure out the front line. Now the Dragon Strike comes for Happy, so Nos' Blade has to be big, but he drops down below. Does he find the kill? No, he doesn't. He gets bashed by Violet, and unfortunately for the Valiant, they require Nos to get a little bit more value out of that Blade. Pelican connects on the Seeker. They got that cart a bit further, which is something for the Los Angeles Valiant. But now they'll be going to the defense. Houston Outlaws stop them on second point.
It's a good sign for Valiant, though. It's not a full halt to come through from Outlaws' side, so they do have space to be able to work with, as well as significant advantages of the high ground that the defensive team on Havana are immediately gifted the second that you fall back towards places like on point A and also on point B. The problem for Valiant is if we see another fast push coming through from Outlaws. If they're immediately able to take control of this first fight and Valiant aren't able to find those first picks from Seeker and Nos, then Outlaws are just going to have so much much time to be able to push into B and bank up ultimates to be able to break Valiant's defense.
Outlaws just look so clean at the moment, and they like having Pelican on the Genji. Obviously, maybe their play instead of a Tracer on this map, it's pretty good for the Los Angeles Valiant. Moxie, I mean, obviously they swapped Seeker onto Hanzo because of that shield pressure. This time it looks like he's going to start on the Widowmaker, though, again.
Yeah, no worries, like no surprises either that Pelican is coming in on that Genji instead of the Tracer, because you literally just get to use those dash resets to find those blink opportunities. It's insane how mobile you can be when you're able to find the kills. As we're going to have a look at Pelican's Blade coming through. Look at this as well. Valiant do everything they can to keep the distance between themselves and the Genji, but the second that the Flux from Gargoyle comes through, Valiant's order has been entirely disrupted. They don't have a cohesive unit. Paintbrush isn't able to find a Break Bash or Flail to push Pelican back, and he just gets to use those dash resets, and the members of Valiant turn into stepping stones that one by one Pelican crushes into the dirt.
That's why he gets MVP considerations. Pelican, one of the best Genjis and players in the league overall. Setting up the catalyst was breaking the Immortality field to allow them to get those kills. And now for the Los Angeles Valiant, they rely heavily on Seeker to find these opening blows. The Outlaws do get that space to push up forward. See if the Outlaws decide to go aggressive at this angle.
I mean, they have the means to. Again, Happy is on the hands, so more pressure onto Crowley and Paintbrush, who's having to actually help the Sigma survive this aggression coming through from Outlaws.
Crawley does get killed. Pelican gets the deflect though onto Crawley, who had everybody of the Houston Outlaws just on him the entire time. Outlaws now back up, or sorry, the Valiant back up all the way, trying to give Seeker some space, but Seeker kind of panic mode at the moment, just trying to find something. Pelican shutting everything down. That's why they're in panic mode, is because you never know when Pelican's just going to dash on you. And Outlaws, so far, so clean.
Seeker is the play for the Widowmaker. Like, if you can find that first pick, if you can find a pick onto the squishies away from Gargoyle Shield, the Widowmaker works. If you're not able to find the first pick, you're essentially down an entire DPS. Now we're going to see the swap come through onto the Hanzo, but the damage has already been done. Outlaws are essentially not stopping when they're able to push through point A, and as a result, they have 5 minutes in the bank to be able to pull these ultimates up, and Valiant are going to very quickly run out of room to give up. They're going to have to throw ultimates in to keep this fight in play.
Again, Happy's building up towards that Dragon Strike. So the longer that the Valiant stay here, the worse it gets for them, as long as this guy's getting ult charge. And now he's built it. He's built the Dragon Strike, ready to go, waiting for it, as you see in this angle. Jumps down, drops it off, so that forces them to at least drop and take some damage. So Valiant now have to rotate into an amplification matrix that was set up, but Seeker finds that first kill on the Violet. Pelican, however, does deflect Seeker's Sonic Arrow back into him. Crowley does find Shu, though, but you still have to worry about Pelican. They do have to rally, they do have the damage, but that goes to show how many ultimates you need just to shut out Pelican on the Genji.
Where's the peel for the Blade now? They used Amp, they used Rally. Pelican is going to have a Blade, and Gargoyle is going to immediately be able to soften the members of Valiant up with this Flux. It's going to come down to Crowley. He has to be able to use the Accretion to cancel the Sigma ultimate out, otherwise CJ is going to be forced to use the Lamp, and Pelican gets to play.
Rotate, or the Outlaws rotate all the way around the outside again. They maybe just want to keep fighting at this angle. Here comes that Gravitic Flux on a Crawley, but a nice rock. You mentioned that's what Crawley has to do. Good shutout from Crawley, but he's taking so much damage. Needs those heals. In fact, the Immortality field is forced early, so now Pelican's Blade should have landed flush. That's one. Crawley also just actually takes himself out, so Pelican doesn't get that value, or doesn't get the ult charge value, and that's a 2K for Pelican. Now 3 minutes and 40 seconds left. There's a stagger kill onto Seeker. If Nos dies here, I mean, it's all over for the Los Angeles Valiant, but he does escape with his life, and they have that Gravitic Flux and Genji Blade for next fight.
I mean, are they even going to be able to get past Outlaws as they just set Gargoyle up to keep Valiant's time bank out of the way? As the Blade comes through from Nos, they have to find the kills, they have to find the value. As Outlaws just back up, they know even if they lose this next fight, they have the time bank to be able to play until the Blade is gone.
That's the rough part for Nos. I mean, yeah, that Blind Blade, that's what we usually like to call him, the Blind Blade of Nos, to try to go aggressive, to find something, but eventually he's getting poked out of the high ground. Here comes that Gravitic Flux from Crawley, avoids the rock, so he does not get hit in the air. The boop out of that amplification matrix. Nice job from Paintbrush there, though. Happy finds him, so although they had the positional advantage, it's not exactly resulting in much until, you know, Crawley trades it back. Happy with the Dragon Strike, though, does get CJ. Pelican also finds Crawley. Seeker still alive here, tries to make something work, but when Happy's popping off, it's hard to do literally anything. The Houston Outlaws, fantastic work for them, 3-0 over the Los Angeles Valiant.
I mean, we mentioned it, right? Valiant needed to dent the time bank that Outlaws had access to on point A, and that dent did not happen. Moving forward into point B, all Outlaws have to do is just keep Valiant pressured, forcing them to expend ultimates to be able to win those fights and keep that payload from moving forward. And the second that they fall, the second they give up that defense on the high ground, Outlaws get to move in and intercept the regroup. So like you saw, the blind blade had to come through from Nas, and even though it doesn't find kills, it at least allowed Valiant a little bit of room to be able to move, but they had to use so many ultimates to be able to break that space. They didn't have any to keep the payload in play.
I didn't, and I know that feel from, I think that was Seeker at the end. He turned off his camera immediately after the game. That's got to be a rough feeling for the Valiant, but, you know, I think we could shout out much better, and this is why a lot of people have them as their favorites for, you know, the championship this year, because the Outlaws proving today, you know, they have Happy. Whenever Happy's on Hanzo, they pop off. Whenever they have Pelican on Genji, they just have this backline X-Flex support, Violet, now main support. I mean, there's just so much talent on this roster. It's hard not to see why the Houston Outlaws just 3-0'd the Los Angeles Valiant.
Like, you look at this Outlaws roster and you think, where is the weakness? So many of these teams are thinking, okay, when we see a dive come through, we approach the backline. But Outlaws, they have a backline so stalwart that you do not dive them when you see that backline. But their front line is exceptional as well. And no surprises after the plays that Pelican was able to put on. He is going to be the match MVP coming through for this bout.
Pelican, let's see the stats. Pelican played amazing in that matchup on, you know, Tracer, on the Genji, on pretty much every character in its entirety. We'll see the stats after the highlight, actually. You know, even on Torbjorn at points was on the Echo. You know, and at times the Echo dies incredibly fast, but Pelican did a great job, you know, playing that diverse hero pool that you mentioned, Mox.
He was that one player as well. Him coming through with that duplicate stopped Valiant from being able to pick up any momentum from that Rampage. He was the player that every single time Valiant made a play, he was just waiting for them to make the move, and then he came in with that disruption, whether it was a blade, whether it was a duplicate. It just had so much impact and effect that it stopped Valiant from being able to find any impact they've been looking for.
Yeah, Pelican, absolutely one of the best players that we have in the league, and you know, without hopefully being a fanboy here at Pelican, obviously, you know, he joined the Atlanta Reign after I left, and now to join the Houston Outlaws, his stats are amazing. 8.5 thousand damage, 2.2 deaths. Usually, we always talk whenever it gets about that 2 to 3 deaths marker, that's when you know this player is elite at just surviving.
Not just that, but when you look at the Dragonblade kills, 3.8, as well as the 2.2 deaths, he's playing aggressively. He is not using that Dragonblade to zone out. He is going into a full team and trying to find those picks, trying to find those kills, and putting himself in a position to potentially go down. But he's able to find those kills so quickly that you're never able to pin his movement down. He is never in position to get break bashed out early.
Fantastic work from Pelican and the Houston Outlaws. 3-0 for them. But we'll be going to a short break. When we come back, we'll have the desk run everything down, or everything ran back for you guys, hopefully. And maybe we'll see some new faces talk to the desk after a short break. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Gargoyle makes tanking look easy, taking a W in style, and so can you. If you grab your favorite team's tank bundle featuring Ramattra, Doomfist, and Sigma, and of course a weapon charm as well, you can grab all of that until May 9th for only 350 League tokens. Welcome back, everyone. This is our game break. We're here on our Watchpoint desk with Danny, with Jake, with Jonathan, but also we want to once again bring in our casters from this match, Dogman and Moxie, who just wrapped up their last cast with us this week. Week 1, 3 days down. How are you guys feeling? What's the general consensus of the opening weekend?
It's good, honestly. I think behind the scenes, we like watching the desk. All of your guys' segments are a lot of fun. And obviously, to come in and fill in for Overwatch League is a great time. Myself and Moxie enjoyed those games as well. This week has been amazing. I mean, what do you guys think so far on the desk? Has this week been a killer week of Overwatch League or what?
Yeah. I mean, it's been a killer week. Like, some teams have really killed and others have been killed so far. But, you know, so you're quite right early. Yeah, sure. Awkwardly, yes.
Yeah, I mean, you got to show both sides of the coin there, right? Moxie, which team has impressed you the most and why?
Okay, Jake's gonna be super happy. I said it during Pro-Am, I'm saying it now. Houston Outlaws just look absolutely unstoppable.
Why are we propping up Jake? Jake's ego is inflating to the size of the moon, man. This is not good. This is bad for Houston Outlaws. It's bad for the rest of the league, to be honest, you know?
Oh, he can throw hands back at you after your compliment.
Oh, that was a compliment.
Now.
Yeah, that was a compliment. Jake, you were obviously coach of the Outlaws, now back on the desk. You know, do you think that war room without you has improved or gotten worse?
I mean, everything looks good. It seems like to me that they've kind of fallen quickly in stride. There's really been no issues. I mean, it's a very new roster, right? A lot of new players coming together, so it would have even been understandable to have some hiccups, but there's so much raw talent, so much strength, and I really have a lot of faith in the staff there. The team behind the team, they're smooth sailing so far. I mean, I won't jinx it.
So far.
Like, it's you know, it's a long season. We're just at the beginning, but you can't ask for more right now.
Sounds like a jinx to me. Gotta be real here, Jake. Anyway, Dogman, Moxie, it was such a pleasure to hear you both calling the action. Of course, make sure to follow both those beautiful people over on social media. It's been great having you. Thank you so much for joining for a quick chat.
Thank you, Zoe. That's so nice of you to say.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Love hearing from them, and what great matches they got to call. And we are now here to discuss what just went down between the LA Valiant and the Houston Outlaws. Now, unsurprisingly, of course, Outlaws is running away with it, but
Too good.
What is your personal story of this match here?
I mean, really, we're just looking at different synonyms here: a shellacking, a beatdown, utter destruction.
Wow.
You know, it's let's hope
you're
we
going
can
all out.
Shellacking.
I like the segment synonyms with Jake.
Yeah, that's all we need. That's all we need for the Houston matches so far. So, you know, it's a long season. They've got other tough opponents ahead. So, you know, I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but it's looking good. Smooth sailing. And it was great to get a win with Gargoyle in particular. We know they can perform with Fearless. We know they look great on the Winston comp, but maybe those off-tank comps could have been a weakness. But I mean, that Sigma comp, especially the attack, they just plowed through the defense, which can be really difficult to do on a map like Havana.
Absolutely. Now, Jonathan, as I said before, you are getting paid per illustration, so naturally we're going to get another one in. But this time,
Have a field day when it comes to building this EMP, because there's no immediate threat of him just dying out of nowhere. Crucial as well, you're playing Kiriko, of course, so you always have this Suzu ability if you want to make sure that Happy stays alive if he is endangered right here. So we can just play this out for now, and we can just see how Violet is sort of staying with Happy on the Sombra, keeping him alive, and slowly but surely Happy is going to continue to build this EMP really, really quickly. I mean, we're 30 seconds in, he has 30%. And as this sort of progresses towards this first fight, we're going to get to an overhead perspective right here. And the fight hasn't even started, but if we pause right around when this camera flips right here, we can see that the Houston Outlaws, they're already taking a fight here. Fearless has obviously gone in already, but they're contesting here before we've even reached the point, right? There's no dive target here on the side of the LA Valiant, so they're kind of just taking a fight just for the sake of taking a fight. Now, if we look at Happy's positioning, Happy's actually standing up here, and he has this line of sight over the LA Valiant. So, as you can see already, we are a minute into the fight. And Happy has already built 75% ult charge into this EMP, and because you're taking this fight before they're contesting the point, you have one more fight. So we can play this out, and while Fearless is going to go down here, you're one man down, Happy has built this EMP so quickly that by the time the Valiant get to the point, Happy already has it. And the LA Valiant, they are not ready for this at all. Just such a quick build from this EMP, and a point of emphasis. Bonus, well, here's Liar losing his Nano because of this EMP, right? Extra feels bad. But you can really see how the Houston Outlaws, they emphasize building this EMP, and it gained them a huge advantage winning this first fight already with Happy's EMP. So great job by them.
Yeah, I love that, Johnny. I think there's two key ingredients for folks at home wanting to replicate that. The first, giving a ton of heals to the Sombra so she doesn't have to spend all her time invis running around. She can just, frontline, farm damage, like you said, no sniper. And as well, they're fighting for every inch of space. They're not letting the opponents come to the point. They're just constantly trading. That's how you get the EMP up so quickly.
Yeah, and part of the backline to keep players like him alive and in action is, of course, Shu from the Houston Outlaws, and he's standing by with a winner interview with Danny.
Alright, 슈. 자, 오늘 잘 들리는지 마이크 테스트부터 한번 해보겠습니다. 들리시나요?
네.
Alright, good. I am hearing him and he is hearing us. So let's jump right into the interview. First of all, of course, congratulations on getting the win. We've been talking so much about Houston Outlaws and how stacked you guys were. So I wanted to ask you a fun question. Like, do you, in your eyes, what is the weakest role if you had to choose one in the Houston Outlaws? 일단 첫 번째 질문은 저희가 지금 중계석도 그렇고 저희도 중계진들 모두 다 휴스턴 팀이 너무나도 강한 팀이다라고 얘기를 너무 많이 해서 좀 재밌는 질문으로 슈 선수에게 굳이 한 역할을 꼽자면 제일 약한 역할이 있다면 휴스턴 팀에 어떤 역할인가요?
역할이라는 게 정확히
그러니까 뭐 탱커진이 제일 약하다. 내가 봤을 때 아니면 뭐 힐러들이 제일 약하다. 아니면 딜러들이 제일 약하다.
딱히 어려운 질문인데.
힐러라고
하죠 뭐.
It is a difficult question. I couldn't hear that answer. 뭐라고 하셨죠?
힐러라고 하죠.
Alright, he went with the supports. Can I ask you why? 이유를 살짝이라도 그래도 말씀해 주셔야 될 것 같은데.
그래도 아직 저희 힐러 합이 엄청 잘 맞는 편은 아니어서 이제 아직까지는 힐러인 것 같아요. 지금까지는.
If I had to choose, it has to be the supports, because I think there are still some things that we have to work together to sort of, I guess, team or support synergy in specific is somewhat we are sort of still lacking. So if I had to choose, then that to be supports. All right. Another question for you, Shu, is we're just getting started with the season, but I want to ask you, like, what would you say is a successful season for you personally? 자, 두 번째 질문은 일단 아직 이번 정규 시즌 시작한 지 얼마 안 됐지만은 슈 선수가 보셨을 때 이제 이번 정규 시즌이 끝날 쯤에 이번 시즌은 굉장히 좋은 시즌이었다라고 말할 수 있다면 좀 어떤 상황이 돼야 좀 그런 말이 나올 것 같으신가요?
저는 무조건 스테이지 두 개 중에 하나는 우승을 해야 그 말이 나올 것 같아요.
I mean, I think I'll probably say it's a successful season if I win at least one of the two tournaments that is going to happen. I think that's very doable, right, guys? Do you guys?
Oh yeah.
Reasonable.
Very reasonable.
네, 제가 봤을 때 사실 저뿐만 아니라 많은 중계진들도 다 뭐 당연히 쉽게 이루실 거라고 생각을 하신다고 합니다. Alright, I'm going to end the interview right here. Shu, thank you so much for your time, and again, big congratulations on the win. 슈 선수님, 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
Thank you so much, Shu. Congratulations to the Houston Outlaws. And
what a humble king.
I was about to say, just humble. Doesn't want to throw anyone else under the bus.
He would just win both of them.
Oh well, just me and Violet. We're working on our synergy. Okay, well, if you got more to show us, Shu, I'm here for it. I want to see it all.
Danny respects trying to steer the pot there. It's like start some beef in that team.
I had to make something, right?
Something's got to give. But for now, they do look unstoppable. Yeah. I have not seen synergy issues there in the backline, but if he says, sure, more to come. We're excited. Great showing once again, of course, from the Houston Outlaws. Now shifting gears, taking a look at our schedule to see what is coming up next. We, of course, have the New York Excelsior, who will go up against the Boston Uprising. It's going to be the first time we're going to see the Boston Uprising in action. On the other side, though, the New York Excelsior, we've already seen them play once. Jake, who stood out there, and who are you looking for to really pop off in this match today?
It's got to be the DPS line as well as Kellen on the Winston for the New York Excelsior. I think Fitz, Kellen, Psycho, these guys need to come together and find strong dive synergy. I think that was a point of strength in their match against the Atlanta Reign, but will it be enough to take down the Boston Uprising? I'm not so sure. This is a very stacked roster.
Let's look at the lineup right now. Smurf, Striker, Decay, Lee Jae-gon, and Izayaki. There you go, guys. That's there's nothing more to say. That's just, I think if we talk about like just pure talent or like pure mechanical, I guess, skills, I think Boston is like top. It's like on there, like #1.
So crucially, actually, Birdring is not in the lineup for Boston Uprising. What that tells me is that we're probably going to see Sombra and Tracer compositions out of the Boston Uprising. Smurf, one of the best tanks to ever touch the game. And now we're combining with Striker, who played Sombra Tracer compositions on Shock, of course, last year as well. And Decay, who is a standout Tracer when he wants to, when he goes for those backlines, but also really good at controlling the tanks. So Birdring, a player that, you know, is a Hall of Famer when it comes to the Overwatch League and has had huge impact for his team. Someone we expected to bounce back with this team this year. He's not going to be in the starting lineup here at the start. I do expect Birdring later in the series because he is so good at the long-range hit scan, but they're sticking with Decay Tracer for now.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned New York's divers, and then I'm looking at Boston, and I'm looking at Striker.
Good luck, guys.
So they got their work cut out for them. I think Lep and Creative, they're going to have to be weathering some pretty deadly dives, but maybe they can do it. I think Lep is a player I'm also excited to see. I think he's a great player for a team that wants to punch above their weight class. He was always a really positive player. Working with him last year on the Outlaws really brought a lot of positivity, mental fortitude to the team, and that's really something you want out of your main support. And you know, he's going to have to also handle it very, very well just to survive these dives, like we said. Decay, Smurf, and Striker, those are not the players I want coming after me in the back line if I'm playing support.
Or frontline, or like anywhere, honestly. They're just on the server, very scary. So if we're looking at our predictions, I'd be very surprised to see anyone here not picking the Boston Uprising. While, yeah, sure, some people were questioning heading into this, is there too many star players? You were asking, there is no followers, there's only leaders. It's going to be an issue. I don't think it will be an issue if they go up against New York Excelsior. As you said, they are the top of their weight class, Danny, and that's why you have to expect them to win this one, and it should be looking convincing.
Whether they have like issues or anything, I don't think it matters. If you have all those star players in one team, it's hard to lose. So I went with Boston as well.
Yeah, not too much to say about this matchup. New York, I love these guys. I hope for the best, but I'm predicting Boston. They're just the stronger team pound for pound.
Yeah, and I'm going with the Boston Uprising as well. Predictably, the one player I would keep my eyes on would be Lee Jae-gon for the Boston Uprising. Has a tendency to sometimes feed, overcommit a little bit.
He likes to zoom around, man.
If you overfeed Lee Jae-gon, it could kickstart something bad. You know, play safe, just win the game, all right?
That's literally a sentence this person has never uttered. I'm gonna play safe.
But he is lethal.
Yeah, so. He's lethal, and he's gonna go in there, and I'm here for it. And I'm sure so are our lovely casters. We, of course, have Necra and Vicky Kitty calling the action.
Hey, thank you so much. So you guys look fantastic on the desk killing. I know Jake seems like the odd one out. I mean, he didn't get the memo in the chat for the Chameleon out here to match with everybody. But yeah, I'm super excited, Necra. I'm on board with the desk and their predictions. I'm expecting Uprising to take this. I like the looks that we see from New York yesterday, but they were against the Reign. They had some moments to shine. But man, when you take a look at the Uprising lineup, this is like the Avenger squad coming in together.
It really is. I mean, what is there else to say about the Boston Uprising here, except that they all have incredible legacy players on this team. You've got one of the best Winstons in the league in Smurf. You've got just a stellar backline for Lee Jae-gon and Izayaki that can, and for New York Excelsior, I think a wildcard factor for me is going to be Lep kicking things off for them.
Yeah, Jake highlighted perfectly. Lep being one of those players that you definitely want to look out for. I mean, during our moments in Tier 2, we saw him shine back in the days of Rush Vival, if you want to call him. He had a great season collegiate too within Northwood before his time on Houston. And you talk about this insane DPS lineup from Uprising, just the individual talent that we have here. I mean, let's also not forget, Dongsu is the head coach for this team, who was one of the assistant coaches on the Dragons when they were at their peak and won Overwatch League 2021. So not only are these individual individual pieces on the Uprising so intimidating, but it's so hard to match up when you are the New York Excelsior trying to prove a point. We could probably expect the Sombra and Tracer to try to match up between these teams.
I absolutely agree. Sombra and Tracer was one of the best looks that we saw from the New York Excelsior, really just trying to push that to make that match versus Atlanta Reign pretty competitive. And while I'm with the desk here, and I think that Boston Uprising is going to end up winning the match, I also wouldn't be super surprised if New York Excelsior gave them a bit of a run for their money.
Absolutely. I mean, in my prize, I got a 3-0, but I honestly would not be surprised if we see at least a map taken. This is also on Lijiang Tower as our first map where we've seen Lee Jae-gon go absolutely sicko mode. It is Lee Jae-gon Tower for a reason. To see Kellen trying to take control over the bridge as he's going to be able to reposition right here too. I like trying to split the team right now. He's in some trouble as he's able to get right back to the hands of Creative and Left.
Yeah, so Boston Uprising, they're going to go ahead and just be on standby here a little bit, looking for an opportunity to come back in as New York Excelsior had gotten the back cap, but all those cooldowns aren't going to help you here now.
And that was with an anti and a follow from Vids to get the hack onto Izayaki, but Decay is just on another level, and they're holding forward here too. They already know that they have the aggression and the number advantage in their favor. Aside from the fact that they were able to get the point on Lock 2, they gave some extra space to the New York Excelsior and were able to come out on top from that fight.
I think you're okay with allowing New York Excelsior to get a bit of a foothold on that point and then come in with your own tools and resources when they're back online and take the control of the point back. Striker has been doing and putting up some absolute numbers over here, already going to have the tactical visor online, and that'll really be nice, especially when dealing with higher mobility characters like the Lucio and the Tracer. But,
I'll see you in the pit. Izayaki going down off the map. Kellen coming in with the primal as the rest of the Excelsior move on to that point. Smurf will have the shatter for the next fight as Lee Jae-gon's trying to get away. He did not get hacked, managing to get out of the grasp of Fitz, who's going to have the EMP for the next fight, Necra.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine if the hack had actually gone through onto Lee Jae-gon? What a stagger that would have been. But he is able to get back to the rest of the team, and the sound barrier is going to be very, very important, as you did call out the EMP from Fitz. So Fitz just trying to look for a position. With Boston Uprising playing in the white room here, it might be a little bit more difficult for Fitz to come in and grab every member of the team, but you really are looking for Lee Jae-gon.
Oh, there's that EMP. Decay gets sent down. The backline did get hit with the EMP, and just in time, here comes that sound barrier from Lee Jae-gon. That shatter catching Kellen and Lip as the New York Excelsior still have control over that point, but not for long as the rest of the Uprising are now trying to clear this point here after Lep gets hacked. One last member here as the reset is going to come in from Fitz. Boston Uprising now ready at 52% incline.
This has still been very, very back and forth, and it comes down to whether or not you're getting the value out of your ultimates. Creative with a huge pick on the Striker may just be the opening that New York Excelsior need right now in order to get back into this one. I'm expecting another flip here, even if it's going to be just a raw fight.
Even in that fight, too, would have been the EMP that would have come online, so I like the call to try to find an opportunity to try to disengage while Smurf is holding the front lines here. Nano boost from Izayaki, anti onto Smurf. Kellen's out of this fight, though, so number advantage now still in favor of Uprising. It's just going to try to get right back into this fight after Creative and Kellen get taken down. In the immediate swap-up, Necker, we are seeing this back and forth consistently between the Uprising and the Excelsior.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is just Boston Uprising wanting to give a little bit of that point away in order to get themselves into better position to actually take these fights. But they're still going to be able to get that progress back, and Striker has the EMP online this time. Lep doesn't have that sound barrier, so it's going to be a little bit of an uphill climb for New York Excelsior to deal with this particular ultimate. Especially if you just get the front line here, Kellen's going to be a sitting duck.
And I was always so scared to play on that bridge, too, when you have to look out for Lee Jae-gon. 95% now. They got to touch the point. Striker's got that EMP ready. But it doesn't have that to match. So only Psycho's caught in that as overtime is activated. But Kellen gets put to sleep after popping the primal. Here comes the pin. And nobody touches the point. Psycho and Fitz were also right there, too.
They were winning.
All right.
They were winning the fight. New York. Oh, come on. Oh, my goodness. Okay, moving on. Moving swiftly forward. We're going to Control Center now. I gotta see a replay of this. So this is the final fight. You see the EMP go through. Lep is on the other side of the map, and Kellen is blocking everything down.
A frame too late. He saw what was going on with Kellen. Saw him get pinned. Says, "Oh wait, I can't help because I gotta." Touch the point, force it into overtime when he was the only one there.
I firmly believe if Lep had actually gone back to the point there and not let that overtime expire, New York Excelsior could have won that fight, and this might be a little bit of a different story. But we do have to move on, Vicky. Control Center here, we're actually going to see a match of the Reinhardt Rush compositions, the only difference being the Symmetra as a stay piece here for Excelsior, and you have the Sojourn on the other side.
Also love the look here between Psycho and Striker opting for the Mei. We know how crucial those Mei walls are in those close quarter fights, especially off to the side here. Decay in that back angle. Getting pinked, have to just go for that small health pack as Excelsior managed to take control of the point first. Nice immortality field from Izayaki. He's going to be able to help out 3 of those members from Uprising. As the Ant Matrix is also called online, he got that relatively quick in comparative to Creative. As Lep goes down, the sustainability won't be there for the Excelsior. Uprising now are just clearing the point after they trade that out for Decay. Ant Matrix now coming in, but the main wall immediately retaliating to block out some of the extra damage. Smurf handling business himself here, taking care of Creative after the Blizzard gets called in from Psycho. It's that back and forth here, but Uprising still haven't been able to fully clear the point, and this has allowed the Excelsior to now roll back in, reset, call in the Photon Barrier, and you're now still seeing Uprising coming in with a fight here too, Necro. Decay is a problem that needs to be checked on that platform and behind the point.
Okay, there was a lot going on in the first, 2 minutes of this map. But at the end of the day, Boston Uprising, they just seem really content letting the point go and waiting to get through some of these more high-value ultimates. New York Excelsior got a capture first. They were able to use the Amplification Matrix second. They also had the Mei ult to expend there as well. And now they're going to get one right back.
Oh, Kellen said, I am out with the swiftness avoiding that Blizzard. Nice answer back and disengage for Excelsior to now re-engage with the sound barrier. Psycho now finding Smurf, forcing the Uprising to lose out on all that extra space. I love the
smart way for New York Excelsior to identify they could just back up, kite away from some of that damage. And all the while, Fitz had gotten a nice pick onto Lijegon, which stunted Boston Uprising ability to navigate away from the point. They just lacked that mobility to be able to change up their position in a macro level. And so New York, they can play this aggressive game with the Reinhardt here as well. Looking rough.
Yeah, Fitz being able to find that first pick onto Izayaki. They do trade that though for Lep. Nice immortality coming in from Creative, who's about to have the Ant Matrix. This could turn things around here for the Excelsior. The trade-off as Smurf took way too much damage. Fitz finishing off the job with Creative. Uprising again. It's a reset while the Excelsior already at 78%.
Yeah, this is going to be the last fight for New York Excelsior here, and they have a lot to be able to throw at this one in order to keep control of the point. Kellen didn't expend the Earth Shatter in that last fight, even though he did have it available, and that's something that you could pair on top of the Blizzard from Psycho to just do a ton of dot damage here.
Oh, Psycho in between the walls. He tosses out the Blizzard, forcing them to get contested in that choke point. Fitz getting the follow-up too. Look to your side. Nobody from Uprising were able to touch. There was so much pressure and damage too. That Blizzard from Psycho nicely placed to prevent the Uprising from forcing it into overtime.
This is a great example and reminder to everybody that Psycho is known for the Mei. It has one of the best Mei that we have ever seen in the Contenders Tier 2 scene, and I love to be able to highlight such a pocket pick for this player because you can't use it in every situation, but when you are going to be able to match the Reinhardt Rush versus the Reinhardt Rush, Psycho was just absolutely on point. Got those Blizzards up and running way faster than what we ended up seeing there on the other side.
I remember some cheeky plays from Psycho back in the T2 days on Kings Row with that Mei. His Echo Tracer obviously on another level there too. But I love the adjustments that we're seeing right now too. Decay, Striker gonna match up with the Excelsior. Kellen already getting hacked and hit with the Anti to start off this fight.
And this is exactly what we heard Reinforce talking about, is that we should see the Sombra Tracer versus Sombra Tracer from both of these teams, knowing that Decay and Striker are in the starting lineup for Boston. And so to be able to see this mirror match here, it's going to be really important who gets this point first. That the way to start this off, Creative.
Yeet! Sending Decay right back to the spawn. We'll be able to come back quickly here, but the point with the number advantage and the space already got by Kellen here too. Kellen, Creative rather, is a problem in that backline after Lep is found easy. Yaki make it too onto Striker. Lee Gon Tower, I mean, Lep has made his way right into that conversation, taking the point first with the rest of the Excelsior.
This is huge for Excelsior. Not only did they win such a massive fight, they're able to get that point capture first. Creative is almost to the nano boost, and at this point, New York Excelsior are outpacing Boston Uprising into their ultimate charge and rotation. Kellen does get taken down here, but you still have tools to be able to throw at this in case you want to try to keep control at this point.
The nano boost onto Psycho. He's trying to find an opportunity to lay down some of that extra damage, but he's taking a lot of damage himself now. But they weren't able to find that first pick onto Easy Yaki. He won't be in this fight. He won't have the nano boost to allow the rest of Uprising to stay in contention and in power of this point. Decay Striker, as Striker has the EMP, he landed it on 3, finding Lep and taking care of Fitz, while Psycho and Kellen want to evacuate here. Striker trying to cut off the rotation, but it's going to be a reset as Uprising stay on the point.
So New York Excelsior had a really big lead there in terms of that ultimate charge, and unfortunately is a sure signal that New York Excelsior shouldn't have thrown anything else had they gotten another pick and then tried to invest those ultimates. But Boston Uprising now, they're going to be approaching that halfway point for their own capture progress, and Fitz already down.
And he would have had the EMP too to help with this engagement, which would have been nice to see, especially Kellen having that primal ready. Trying to find his contention as Striker off to the side, trying to be cheeky to call up Psycho. Nothing to see here. Oh, he gets detected. They call him out immediately afterwards. He's forced to get away.
Oh my goodness, the kite around is going to be very important here, especially because you don't want to get caught in this damage from Smurf, especially when he has the ability to just start juggling everybody on the New York Excelsior here.
Especially right behind that point, getting those environmental kills. The sound barrier was called in from Lep. I like to disengage from Uprising here, though, because now they're going to be able to try to re-engage. Here comes an EMP, deleting Smurf from that follow-up. They trade that for Creative, though, who would have had the nano boost online. The Excelsior do manage to still retain that control over the point next.
Yeah, this control is going to be really good here for New York Excelsior to start to match up that progress. And when they've already expended the EMP, they're really looking for an opportunity to just buy some time for Lep to get the sound barrier online, Creative to get the nano, just anything to be able to deal with the EMP that Striker is building up to.
You probe the monkey and he goes Winton mode right there. You saw him trying to contest and delay the Uprising right out of that choke point, but now they make their way through after taking care of Kellen. And nano boost onto Psycho again, controlling that forward choke point. Lee Gon's trying to bait out something cheeky over to the side here, but with their feet planted on this point, Necro already reaching that 74% to even that out with the Uprising.
Big stuff here for New York Excelsior, but they also have to take these economy pushes when Boston Uprising have the EMP, the primal rage they're using now, the pulse bomb. They're also going to get the point flip back.
And yeah, you talk about the EMP, it did land onto Kellen, and now you currently see Fitz and Psycho out of this fight. Uprising right back in control over this point, and they'll still have the sound barrier and the nano boost to work with.
Yeah, so much sustain on the side of the Uprising that I would be surprised if New York Excelsior could manage to take this back. They also have to get to the point first.
Overtime now ticking away here. Smurf has already found Fitz. That sets Uprising in the driver's seat to have that number advantage. Overtime still being delayed here. Huge anti. No recall here from Decay. He's hiding right behind the shield of Smurf as the sound barrier gets called in from Lee Gon. Striker Decay now finding their individual picks onto Kellen and Creative, but Easy Yaki gone. Still Uprising with 4 men still alive. 99%. Overtime now ticking away. Excelsior need to try to contest. Psycho out. Doesn't look like anybody but Lep could do anything, but he gets him deleted the moment he sees them through the window.
Oh, what a valiant effort, though, by the New York Excelsior, and what a fun give and take to watch as well between these two teams, Vicky.
I like it. I mean, again, I saw New York Excelsior yesterday putting up such a good fight against a team that is considered one of the best in the leagues right now, the Reign. And here we have them, again, putting up an amazing fight against the Boston Uprising. But the back and forth in the economy at the very end did favor the Uprising network.
Oh, it really did. I mean, just 9 times out of 10, it felt like Uprising had an answer or just a way to be able to keep the advantage that they had built. And even though it looked so back and forth because Boston Uprising were giving up the point, just for a couple of percentage ticks, they still had a very confident idea of how they would really like to be able to play on the 2 rounds that they did win. So Market's just a really great example of going in there with the EMP and just, yeah, keeping an advantage.
Keeping incredibly close, too, if you look at the DPS lineup between Fitz, Psycho, Decay, and Striker. We do have King's Row for our map number 2, Necro. I'm excited to see how this goes down now between the New York Excelsior and the Boston Uprising. After they take that slight lead, we're going to see King's Row on the other side of this break.